Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I'm MYOB Acumatica from Advanced Solutions and we're excited to have you here as we dive into ezyCollect for MYOB Acumatica. At Advanced Solutions, we pride ourselves on supporting over 170 customers across New Zealand with our solutions ranging from MYOB Greentree to Oracle NetSuite and of course MYOB Acumatica. We're a proud MYOB Acumatica partner and part of the Verde group of companies. Now, I see many familiar names joining us today. Our valued Advanced Solutions customers who are already using MYOB Acumatica, and a few new faces and names. So perhaps you're considering MYOB Acumatica for the future. Either way, we're glad to have you all here. At Avanza, we don't just stop at providing software. We go that extra mile by partnering with certified MYOB independent software vendors, or ISVs, which we like to call add-ons. These add-ons, like ezyCollect, further enhance the MYOB Acumatica experience for our customers. Now I'm excited to introduce Graham Bowers from ezyCollect, who will be guiding us through the next portion of today's webinar. Graham will be providing a detailed overview and a live demo of how ezyCollect works. Now, ezyCollect is an accounts receivable automation platform specifically designed for B2B businesses and is fully integrated with MYOB Acumatica. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to drop them in the chat or Q&A box, or actually just interrupt us and we'll help you as we go. If you'd like to discuss anything further after the webinar, both Graham and I are more than happy to chat. So thank you once again for joining us, and I'll now hand it over to Graham.
Before I get into the demo of the product, I want to know and let you know what you can do to improve your processes and why accounts receivable is so important. Now, presumably those of you on the call are involved in AR with overdue accounts, getting money, but you're finding that it's more and more difficult as time goes on. People are pushing you out further. So how do we extend Acumatica to make your life easier? How do we automate your receivables? How do we accelerate payments? How do we look at the risk of your clients? Just because someone's been with you for 10 years doesn't mean that they're a good client in terms of being able to pay today. And how do you improve your client experience with this process as well? So this is me. I started life as an accountant, so I'm very familiar with accounts receivable. I've got a lot of experience in ERP and in debt collection. I work with the ezyCollect partner channel, which includes Juanita and Verde. My mantra has always been, from the time I was young, which is, what was I last birthday, 430 years old, so a long, long time. A sale is not a sale until money's in the bank, and you'll have all your salespeople rushing in and they'll say, I've just got this $30,000 deal. That's great. When the money's in the bank, it's a sale. Up until that time, it's called a gift. And getting pushed further and further out all the time, chasing money, it gets harder and harder. I'm based in Victoria. Our head office is based in Sydney, and I look after the ANZ. So what are we going to look at today? Tightening credit on accounts receivable, how that affects everybody, how these automated solutions will help you, how it'll help you streamline your business, it improves your efficiency, and it frees up time in the business. So a few tips on how you can improve things before I actually get into showing you the product, and how a modern payment process improves your efficiency and gets people paying 24/7. So I'm looking at practical ways that'll help your business along with the ezyCollect platform. So you probably all know this. What's the impact of harder, leaner times and the impact on tightening credit and cash flow when you're a person that used to pay you on 30 days is now pushing you out to 45, pushing you out to 60. And you've got this big rump of people in over 30 days, over 60 days, over 90 days. They're not responding to you. How do we stop them? What's the big outcome of that? It's obviously stress. And customers start to use you as a bank of last resource. And you'll all see this in your own business. Therefore, you can't meet your commitments because how many people have you called for money and they say, oh, well, you know, Deirdre owes me money and if she pays me, then I can pay you, and it has a knock-on effect. Then you get more and more of your AR resource involved in chasing money. So rather than sending out invoicing and solving queries and doing customer service, they're constantly chasing overdue accounts. So that's a waste of time and effort. Ultimately, it leads to bad debts. And then you get a customer relationships damaged as well, because you're either putting people on stop credit or you're refusing to ship goods to them. You're putting them on prepay, and all of that relationship is damaged because they can't pay you on time because you're not doing it in an automated fashion. And of course, did I mention that the whole thing is very stressful? I've lived in this environment, and it is constantly stressful. So how can we help you? Right. Automated systems free up cash from overdue accounts. They free up slow payers. You'd be surprised the number of people that don't chase anybody under $1,000, and yet they'll have 60 or 70 or 80 of their customers all with $500 balances and $800 balances, and there's 50 or 60,000 just sitting there, but no one's got the time to chase them. So we use Acumatica to improve cash flow, and we add on ezyCollect to automate the whole collection process. And then you're constantly reviewing your processes to make sure you optimize automation opportunities. And you do that also with Verde by talking to Juanita's team to make sure that you're getting the most out of Acumatica. What else can be done? There's tools and tricks that your partner can help you with in improving the way you even use Acumatica. And then you look at, why are these overdue customers a threat to your business? And that's how they should be considered. They are a threat to your business because it's money and liquidity tied up. You can look at your debtors ledger and go, oh, we've got $650,000 overdue. That's great, but that's a threat. It's not a benefit, because until you get that in the bank, you can't use it for any liquidity. And are your suppliers and customers the best they can be? And why you constantly need to look at your processes and your business model to make sure that you're using the current tools to get the most out of it. All right, so we use automatic and automated AR solutions. And we start at the very beginning with onboarding. We use digital credit applications, not the old, fax me over or email me over a PDF form that's got 3 credit references on it. And we all know that they're good credit references because no one's going to give you a bad one. So we use digital credit applications, which go into the government records and come up with the directors' names. And so that, aligned with credit scores of the company that's applying for credit, gives you real-time metrics of being able to assess and onboard a new customer. You can then score your existing customers, and I'll show you a little bit more about that later, against market activity to make sure that they are good customers. As I said, you may have had someone who's been on board with you for 10 years, but over the last 6 months, they may be in real trouble and their credit scores are decreasing, but you don't know any of this. And the first thing you know is when they're pushing their payments out and suddenly they can't pay you at all and they're going bad. Being able to take payments through a payment portal for sales orders and invoices is a good solution as well, because those invoices, once they're paid, are automatically written back into Acumatica, saving you time, and also they get allocated to the right invoice. Self-serve payment portals, which allow for direct debits, credit cards, EFT payments, payment plans, so all can be set up automatically within the ezyCollect portal. And then being able to download invoices as well from the portal, so you don't. If you're an AR, you know what it's like. Somebody says, oh, I haven't got that invoice. Can you send me a copy? So you've got to go into the Acumatica. You've got to find the invoice. You've got to download it. You've got to email it to them. This portal gives them self-service, so they can just go down and download their invoice themselves. And then, of course, the automated collection process, which includes emails, SMS, letters, and a call list. You also get easy feedback from customers over disputes. They can talk to you in the portal directly and saying, well, I'm not paying this invoice because you told me it was going to be $30 a unit and you've charged me $30.75. So unless you adjust the price or fix the invoice, I'm not paying it. So easy way of getting feedback from customers. And then No one owing you money is ignored. That's the other big key. You're chasing everybody because the system is automated. You don't have to sit down manually and ring someone for a $35 invoice or an $85 or a $200 invoice or a $10,000 invoice. It doesn't matter. Everybody is being chased automatically, and the squeaky wheel process applies where people are. They know that you're going to call. They know you're not going to forget that you owe them $500, and they will pay. So let me start quickly, and I'll go through the product for you so you can have a look at it. Now, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Are you seeing the ezyCollect product dashboard? You never quite know with when you present, if you collect sometimes the windows you have to reshare so you can see it. So this basically just moving into the all those reasons that I've just gone through with you are the reasons that ezyCollect exists, because these are all the problems that people have found that they've got in their business. And our founder used to own a medical supply company, and he was going gangbuster sales through the window, but he was going broke slowly because no one was paying him. And he ended up selling the business, and came out of it was there needs to be a system where we can automate collecting money and making it a lot more simple. And 9 years later, this has evolved into ezyCollect. So you can see if you've got ezyCollect. Now, ezyCollect integrates directly into Acumatica via the API. So the source of truth is always Acumatica. So we pull the data out of Acumatica, that we write the payments back into Acumatica. We sync as often as you like, but usually we sync at 2 o'clock in the morning so we're not in the middle of server loads or in the middle of your daily processing, because receivables are reactive. I mean, if you get paid the previous day, then you update those debtors, and then you start collecting again. That all processes in, and then out of that you get this dashboard, and you can see quickly, what the state of play is in your debtors, how many are overdue, how many communications you've made. You get little widgets that give you the oldest overdue, the largest, the credit limit usage, escalations, excluded and paused customers. And you can also classify those customers who you want ezyCollect to chase. So for example, if you've got 3 or 4 big customers, say you deal with Woolies, or you deal with one of the big supermarkets, and they're going to pay you at 60 days, you exclude them from chasing because nothing will change the way that they do business. So you can classify different groups of debtors, and you can chase them in different ways. The letters you send to them could be different types of reminder letters. And so you've got a lot of flexibility within ezyCollect. Then you've got the Credit Insights part of it. Now, Credit Insights does 2 things. It allows you to do credit applications and score new customers, but it also looks at your book each month, and it scores your customers based on a number of criteria. All right, and then it'll classify them. So it looks at how people pay you in the marketplace. So for example, if they're paying you and they're paying everybody, they're a big business as usual. They're not having any problems. Their credit scores look good. Then you get people that are paying you, but not paying anybody else, which means that you're a supplier of last resort. Or that ezyCollect is working particularly well, and so we're nagging them so they always make sure they pay us. But that's a watch and monitor, because if they're paying you but not paying anybody else, that still suggests that they're having cash flow problems, so they need to be watched. Then you get the not paying you and not paying anybody, and they're a bad risk, and they're the ones that you should immediately start to look at either reducing their credit limit, putting them on stop credit, looking at potentially getting some stock back and putting them on prepay. But you get this warning from the marketplace that is saying these people, it's not just you, they're not paying anybody else, and they're a big risk. And then you might turn on monitoring for that. Now, monitoring means that you get specific reports on, for example, changes of directors, any court judgments that are in play. So you get a sense, and you know what's happening to these people in the marketplace, and you can say, hang on a minute, we need to take action now. Once the liquidators are appointed, it's all too late. You need to be ahead of this 3-4 months prior, and this gives you the tools to do it. Then the really interesting one is their they're paying everyone else, but they're not paying you. Now that's an interesting metric, because what it says is that's a relationship issue. So that needs to go to account management. And then you find when you drill down, you start talking to the customer, they're not paying you because your invoice is always wrong, because you shipped the wrong goods, because someone in the business has upset them because they were grumpy with them when they called in with a query. And so they've gone, no, I'm not paying those for all these reasons. So that helps you get ahead of not losing a customer, because we all know that once you lose a customer, it's very, very difficult to get them back. If they find another supplier, if they go somewhere else, they won't come back to you. But if you find they're not paying you but paying everybody else, you get a chance to go in and fix that relationship. So if you look at ezyCollect, we drill down and you get a record of every customer that we're chasing. If they've got a zero balance, we're not interested in them. We're not interested at ezyCollect. Once they pay, we lose interest. And so until their next overdue invoice comes. So you get a complete visual, and you'll see what their risk level, all these. This is a very old demo file, and they're all overdue deliberately so we can show you. So you can see that there's a severe risk here, a moderate risk on this one. And so you get visibility constantly of all these things. ezyCollect works on a workflow process, and every individual customer or groups of customers can have separate workflows, and we tend to tell you what the best workflow is for your industry. But what we do at ezyCollect is a number of days prior to the invoice being due, and I used to do this manually when I was an accounts receivable. I'd always call someone and say, call the accounts person and say, hey, Bill, have you got my invoice 418 in your system? And he'd go, yes, I've got it. And I go, great. So that's due for payment on the 25th. Yeah, no problem. That'll be in the payment run. If you called Bill and Bill said, no, I've never seen that invoice, then Bill can't pay you for something he hasn't got. So then you can start chasing it. We automate the same process. We send a little email out, a week prior, and we'll say, just to remind you, here's your invoice with a link so they can download it if they don't have a copy. And this is due on the 25th of October. Can you please make sure that it's in your system? And please call us. What you determine the words, we'll work with you. We've got a set of templates for those about what works best. And so we're being proactive in the sense that we're saying to people, you owe us money for next week. Can you make sure you pay it? And then we work on different workflows. The first email might go out saying you're overdue. We might do an SMS, and again, this is all automated. The SMSs go out automatically because we find that talking to people with an SMS sometimes gets more cut through than an email. And then at 20 days overdue, we might schedule a call, and we'll create a call list for the day. You just click on your tasks, you'll get a call list, and it says here you need to call these 10 people because what we've done so far hasn't worked. So you get into humanized collection. But we can see that they've opened the email, we can see that they've got the text, so you're just calling them saying, hey, I emailed you on this date, I haven't had any response. If they, usually at this point, if they'll say to you, oh, I'm going to pay you in 10 days, and you can pause that within the system so you don't continue to chase them. Or maybe you can't get through and you send a follow-up email. We can even send a letter out automatically, which is the final letter of demand, and then we might escalate it to debt collection as well. So the objective is to collect the money, and you find with polite persistence and insistence, you will get paid. We collect between 50 and 70% of overdues in the first 6 months. So if you've got $500,000 sitting in your over 30s, within 6 months, you'll have 250 to 350,000 of that in your bank account, which I'm sure you'll all agree is a major benefit for cash flow. So we work through this. Now, the other beautiful thing about ezyCollect now is that we have direct debit and payment plans built in. Now, our mission is 0 days late, and so by putting direct debits, and probably you've all had experience with direct debits, they're a nightmare. You've got to go through forms with the bank. You've got to do all sorts of, if you want to cancel them, it's hard. Not so with ezyCollect. You just basically, if you want to set up a direct debit for a customer. Now, a lot of customers say to me, oh, I don't think our clients would accept direct debits. You'd be surprised. But I think if you're onboarding any new client in these, let's call them uncertain times, all new clients that you onboard, you should say, well, you've been approved, you've got a $5,000 credit, but our terms of trade are you must have a direct debit. So if the invoice is due on the 20th of October, we'll come along and we'll take the money for it. So really all you've got to do to get a direct debit is you hit a request now button. There's a predetermined letter that says, you know, thanks, we want to set this up. And basically all you do is set up a direct debit. They click a link. It's an electronic form. It's all done electronically. They fill this simple form in, whether they want to pay via bank account or whether they want to pay by credit card. They just hit confirm and the direct debit's set up. What happens then is it's flagged in Acumatica that we're holding a direct debit for. And then once the invoice is due, Acumatica says, oh, this invoice is due on the 20th of October. It automatically says to ezyCollect, invoice due on the 20th of October. We go, great, and we go and collect it. Now, 7 days prior, we will send a letter out saying this invoice is due for direct debit. Please make sure you have funds available. And then once that payment's received, it's written back automatically in Acumatica. So you really don't do anything at all. It just happens for you. And so that is the beauty of direct debits. And I think it is the future where for all new customers. I had a client recently, it was a food company, and they don't ship until people pay because they're dealing with all sorts of, small restaurants and coffee bars and small supermarkets. And so unless you're a very specific account holder like a big supermarket, you prepay. What was happening was people would go onto their website and they would put the order in and it would say pay now, but they would never do it. And so on the day of delivery where the warehouse manager was saying, I've got all this stuff in cold storage, I can't ship any of it because we haven't been paid, they'd have 3 people calling 400 customers trying to get the money in. So we put the direct debit system in and they just said to their customers, we're doing this. And their customers said, oh, that's great. Because the owner says, oh, well, when my chef's away, I've got to go into the kitchen and I don't have time to do this payment. What you're telling me is you're just going to come, you're going to send me the sales order. I'm going to say, that's what I want. And then on the day it's due for shipment, you'll take the money, no problem. And it really solved a problem for them. So it's a really great way of doing it. It's also how our payment plans work. If people call you and say, oh, I owe you $5,000, I'll give you $1,000 a month, we put them on a payment plan. But essentially they sign a direct debit as well. So on the 12th of every month, when the payment plan, $1,000 is due, we just go ahead and we collect that money. And so it really is a great system. Now, on top of that, there is also the payment portal. And this is a tokenized payment portal that all your customers, individual customers, have their own tokenized way in. They can set up an account if they want to. Otherwise, they can just click the Pay Now button link on an invoice and they'll go here. It shows them every invoice that's currently due. They can view it. They can download the invoice if they want. And they can pay whatever they want to pay. So say, for example, they went, oh, I've only got $2,000. I'll just pay $2,000. But I'll pay these 3 little ones as well. All right. And so they hit pay now. It goes through to their credit card details or their bank details and they pay it. Now, the problem is under normal circumstances, if they paid you $2,000, the natural response is, oh, I've got this $3, this $1, and this $3. I'll get rid of those out of the 2,000 and I'll just apply 1993 to this 4,100. But that's not what they wanted paid. And then we all know in this room, when you come to reconcile that 6 months later and they go, no, I only owe you $2,102 on this invoice. And we've allocated to these small ones to get rid of them. In this scenario, they actually pay the invoices they want. When we get this $2,007, we allocate $2,000 to invoice 419, $3 here, $1 here, and $3 here, and everything is cleared. So the reconciliation of these part payments, we all know that, right? Somebody will pay you $5,600 and they've got 12 invoices and you've got no idea. So you've just got to leave it as an unreconciled payment until you get their remittance advice, which never seems to come. So you've got to call them and it's time consuming. This portal solves all those problems as well. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's the ezyCollect process. We look after risk. We look after onboarding with credit applications, where there's a payment portal that writes back automatically into ezyCollect. And then you've got automated workflows where letters and SMSs all sent automatically, and that will improve your cash flow. It's proven that it genuinely adds, shortens the time down, mainly because you are that squeaky wheel, mainly because people know that you're not going to forget you're not going to overlook it. I don't know how many people are in AP here, but I've been in AP as well. You know when a system dunning letter comes out, you know that it's just a system letter and you can ignore it. These all come out from your email addresses, so they're not spam. So it's accounts@ABC Limited or bill@ABC Limited, whichever email you want to come out. So they always go them. We track when the email's open. So when people go, oh, I didn't get that email, you go, oh, that's interesting. It was opened yesterday at 3 o'clock. So, no, that one. Yes, no, I got that. So all these little contingencies are taken care of for you, and it's a very, very valuable addition to Acumatica if you've got overdue accounts. So on that note, I'll be quiet for a minute. Has anybody got any thoughts, questions, comments? Best webinar you've ever attended? We go with brevity.
Yeah. Could I just ask how the payments flow back into the bank? Like, how do they come into our bank?
They go through a merchant, and then you get say for example, 60 customers paid you yesterday and it was a total of $27,000. You would see one payment in your bank account for $27,000. You would get a report saying $27,000 went in, and you would get however many debtors payments were. We do the entry automatically. So we would debit the bank with 27,000. We would credit all the debtors with the individual amount, and so those two transactions were already in there. When you came to do your bank reconciliation, all you have to do is click the box that says $27,000, which matches the settlement statement, which matches all the payments that have been made to the debtor.
Okay. Yeah. No, good
Makes
to know.
sense?
Yeah.
Oh, it saves so much. I was talking to someone the other day. They were having a big problem as well because they take an awful lot of little payments, and they were saying it's a nightmare because I don't know what the ERP was, but they were saying they had to go through with every individual payment on the reconciliation and click a box, and it was just taking them hours and hours every day. And so I said, well, they were going to force people to use this portal. Now, in the spirit of transparency, if someone pays you outside of this portal with a ABA file bank transfer, we can't capture that because we can't see it. So it's only transactions that come through this portal that write back to Acumatica. They can still see their outstanding invoices, they can still see everything, but if the payment isn't made via here, because we don't see it. I asked for a product update, and it's in the roadmap, and that is for us to optically read remittance advices. So even if someone then pays by an ABA file, if they paid 20 invoices, we'll be able to, at some point, read that remittance advice and post back based on those transactions. So that's on the roadmap, but it's not available today. But it's just the way we think in terms of, well, how do we make it easier for people? I had an insurance a person that was a car repairer begging me for this because they got so many transactions from multiple insurance companies in the terms of thousands a week that all had to be manually posted, and they said, can you please just read the remittance advice? So coming, but yes. So just in the spirit of transparency, if someone just does an ABA file and just does a straight bank transfer bank to bank, we can't do anything with those transactions. You still have to manually post them to the debtor.
Once you post it to the debtor, though, it does show up on your platform, right? That the payment was made.
Correct.
And then it reduces
Correct.
the balance and all of that. Okay.
Correct. So say, for example, on this one, somebody had paid you on a bank transfer of $4,102. That would, once we synced and we saw the payment was made, that would no longer show in this portal, and it would no longer be chased, and it would no longer show on any overdue report within ezyCollect. Correct. So we do. Again, Acumatica is a source of truth. So whatever you do in Acumatica, if you do a credit note and the balance is reduced on that invoice, we will show the net amount that we're chasing.
Great. Okay. I've got a question regarding direct debits. Currently, I don't think the banks allow digitally signed direct debit forms. So how have you managed to go around that so that these types of forms are accepted by the bank?
Because this is we've done all this. The New Zealand banking system, believe it or not, was a lot easier than the Australian banking system. So this took us some years to get in, but we have gone through the process that this is acceptable to both Australia and New Zealand banks, that we can do this because it's all PCI compliant and it's all digitally encrypted. So there's no issue with the banks on this.
Okay, so the customer my customer could fill out the direct debit form, press submit, and then it goes straight to the bank, like my bank, for approval or for loading?
No. We just the merchant, because the customer has given them authority to debit either a credit card or a bank account. That's enough for us. With us working with the banks and having a process to do that, we can then go in, because that's a good enough authority. Because don't forget, they all used to be paper authorities as well, and people could have a direct debits form based on just a paper. So now I think the banks are all happier with this. There is no issue with banks. It's because we're PCI compliant in terms of the merchant, because we use third-party merchants. We use Payrix, we use Stripe. We've got a number of merchants that we use because we never touch the money. The money never comes anywhere near us. It comes out of, even the merchants don't touch it. So when someone does a payment, it goes from their account to your account. There is no intermediary. There's no intermediary transferring of funds. It goes point to point. So it doesn't go into an ezyCollect account and then we move it to you. It's point to point. It's their account to your account.
So on that note then, if you don't, who has the credit card facility in order to take those payments then? And, like I know Stripe, you pay, that's, you'd actually get charged commission on those payments. And the same with, you get merchant fees on credit card payments. So who does those? Is that us?
The credit card fees that you pay on all of these transactions to these merchants are either absorbable by you or on charged by you or shared by you. So if you want to on charge, let's assume the rate was in round numbers 2%, then that 2%, when this person went to, let's say he paid now by credit card, okay, so it's pay now or not. Don't know what's happening here.
So then that would automatically add the merchant fee on top of it, would it?
Correct. It would say
then
$2,007 plus $4 for the merchant fee, and you would get $2,007 and the merchant would get $4. You would never see that $4. It would just go straight to the merchant.
Okay.
And it actually, weirdly, it doesn't just go to the merchant. It actually, you'd be amazed to know where that $4 goes. It goes to if it's Visa or MasterCard, they get a clip. The bank gets a clip because they've moved A to B. The merchant gets a clip for facilitating it. So that $4 goes to like 11 different people. It's quite fascinating when you see who gets what out of the $4. If you absorb the charge yourself, then what will happen is you will get the journal that will go through is you on that. Let's assume they paid $2,007 and it was $4. You would get $2,003 and the merchant would take $4. But the debtor would be debit bank $2,004, credit the debtor 2007, debit credit card fees $4, and that journal is automatically done by us. But not many people absorb anymore. Most people just on charge. But it depends on you. You've got a choice. You can absorb on charge or you can split.
And can you choose whether or not you take credit card payments? Or
Yes.
is it?
Yes.
You can. So you can choose your payment types that you accept in the portal.
But why wouldn't you? I have people sort of say, oh, I don't want to take American Express, and you go, but why wouldn't you? Why put a barrier in the way of payments? What do you, as long as you're on charging the fees, what do you care how people pay you through the portal?
That's true.
You know, you just you never put barriers in the way of payments. It's like this payment portal. 25% of people, we look at our statistics, 25% of people pay outside of normal business hours. Let's call it 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. So you've got a quarter of customers wanting to pay you, because especially smaller people, you know, they might have a hair salon, they get home, they have dinner, they put bath the kids, and then 8 o'clock at night, they're sitting there going, oh, I've got to pay some people now. And if you say, oh, call us to pay by credit card, and they go, oh, I can't do that, so I can't pay you. Whereas if they go, oh, I can pay you now, then, you know, and you get there at 9 o'clock in the morning and the money's just appeared. So never put a barrier in the way of payments. You know, take American Express, just on charge the fees. And people weirdly with credit cards, they want to pay with credit cards because a lot of them have got royalty programs where they get points for loyalty points or frequent flyer points, and especially with Amex, that's why people pay with Amex, because they get a lot of frequent flyer miles. So
yeah. I've got a question regarding this portal here, the Simply Pay portal. Is it it's something that every customer would need a login, their own login to, in order to pay us?
Not necessarily. If they want to set up a direct debit, they have to have a login. Okay, but if you on the invoice and the sales order, there's a pay now button. When they hit pay now, it'll go through to here. They don't have to log in or do anything. See, I'm not logged in at the moment. See, it says log in or sign up. If you want to save your payment details, you must have an account. But if you just want to pay these invoices and put your credit card in every time, pay with different credit cards, pay with different bank accounts, you can. So you don't have to have a login. The pay now button will take you to this portal. But if you want to save your credit card details and you want to make it easier going forward, then you have to have an account. But you just sign up on the spot. It's not hard.
Oh, awesome. Have you got a list of numerical benefits that your customers get when they implement ezyCollect into their business? Like, how much does the average day-to-day drop by? How much does the increase in collection rate drop by? What happens to a business? Like, what actually happens to the business once, or to a good business that's collecting money from their customers?
Usually you get two things. You see a reduction in the overdue amount and a reduction in debtors days. So we'd say 50 to 70% within 6 months. So if you've got, if your terms are, what are you on, 20-month following?
Yeah.
That's usually what the terms are. So 20-month following, and you've got, say you've got $300,000 worth of people outside of that, then you would expect to see $150,000 to $200,000 worth of benefit over 6 months. Usually you get that's statistically based on all our customers, because we track the metadata for everybody to show what we can do. If you I'll send you a link, and it shows you, and it's the cumulative effect of all the, we probably still call it advanced, but the cumulative effect of all our Acumatica clients and what the benefit they've had over time. And I'll send that link to Juanita, and she can send it out to you. And if you just click on it, you can say, oh, this is how much things have gone down. The other side of it is time saved. If time saved in rekeying payments, bank reconciliations, and copy invoices and chasing people. And that seems to be significant at the moment. Usually people save anywhere from in a medium-sized company, they usually save sort of 8-10 hours a week, but it can be a lot more. It could be almost half a person or even a person. Some people have 2 or 3 people chasing overdues full time, and so that's up to you to assess what you think all those tasks are doing and how many hours that would save you a week. But it's usually between a minimum, you're usually saving 8 hours a week just in chasing and copy invoices and bank reconciliation stuff.
Then what's the process to implement something like this inside of with a business?
It usually takes 4 weeks, so 20 working days from start to finish. The process is quite simple. We give you a quote. The pricing is determined on what we call active debtors. So the number of debtors with a balance at the end of the month. So if you run an age trial balance and it's 10 pages, you've got 300 debtors. If it's 20 pages, it's 900, 600-700 debtors. The pricing is based on that. Packages, it's usually around, for the average business with 500 debtors, it's $850 a month, and that gives you credit insights, it gives you the whole risk, it gives you the workflows, gives you the payment portals. You can split the risk out, so you can just do it with workflows and payments, and that's probably about $100 a month cheaper. And the implementation is $2,900. That's a one-off fee. We work with Juanita's team, and usually the partner time is a couple of hours because they set up the tokens for the API, and the whole process usually takes 4 weeks or 20 working days. It's not a complicated process. We've done a lot of Acumatica installs. The API works well. There's only one thing with the Acumatica API, and again, this is based on transparency. If you have the free API, there's limits on calls, but we don't use many calls, so we're usually syncing at night. A login is a call, but usually people log in the morning, that's one call, and then ezyCollect just works with the data it's got. So we're not heavy on the API. But if you've already got the full API, there's no issue at all. If you're using the free API, you may have to upgrade, but usually we work in with the free one. It's not an issue, but that's, Verdale will make that decision and say to us, no, we've already got Alexio, we've already got Trailed, we've already got, the freight system, we've already got e-commerce. Mind you, if you already had all those things, you probably got the full API anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Sorry, Graham, is that pricing Kiwi dollars or Australian dollars?
AU, but there's not a lot of this. It's so little difference these days, isn't it? But if someone said to me, "Oh, I'm only going to give you $850 NZD," I'd probably go, "That's fine, I'll take it." but it's AU. It was a big difference when the rate was 82, but I think it's like 96 or something now, isn't it? I haven't been so long. There's not a big difference. 90, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you a discount if you sign up for $850, I'll discount it by 10% to drop it to NZD. I can do it that way. So there's always a way. There's always a way I can do something for you, Sunit.
Okay.
I just want to know, with the credit application forms, how would that process work? So would you send a link out to new potential customers and they'd fill it in?
Correct. Let me see if I can. Let's go back a bit. So what happens is we send a credit application out, and you're right, it's just a link, okay? And then they fill in all this information. They put in their NZBN, they put in all the contact details, they put their billing address, they put the directors' names. So they put all that information in, and from that, this one's under review, right? So you get all this one back, and then you'll get a credit score on them, and it says late payment risk on this customer's moderate, failure, but the failure risk score is high. So you go, well, should I be giving them credit or not? You get a credit report. There is a comprehensive credit report, but you get a I can't request this because it'll waffle off and send an email to someone, but you get a credit report which gives you office holders, legal events that have occurred in the last 5 years. So it gives you, if you get that information. If you go, they want a big credit limit here and I'm still not sure, you can purchase a comprehensive credit report. My feeling is if you're nervous at this stage, I'd be doing what I suggested and saying, well, we can give you we're happy to trade with you, but everything has to be prepaid for the first 3 months. And then after that, for the next 9 months, it's direct debit. I think you've got to be, you don't want to onboard risk. We're very big on, if you stop the risk when you open a new account, because how often do new accounts get opened with the sales manager comes in and goes, oh, I just talked to Dean over and such. He's been a mate of mine for years. Yeah, no, he'll be fine. Just give him 15,000. And no one ever looks at it. And then, 3 months later, you're chasing 40 grand and the sales manager's nowhere to be found. So I think we should always apply solid metrics to onboarding people, and with direct debits and being able to take payments on sales orders, I think there's a lot to it. And so then now the only thing that we don't do, again, it's on the roadmap, is when you approve their credit application, you then still have to open the account in Acumatica. We're working on, the moment you approve it, opening that account as well, but that gives us, we're working through the API and the issues that causes. So it's a process that we're going through. Does that answer your question on the credit applications?
Yeah.
And so all the credit applications would be saved in your portal?
Correct. They're all this tab again, where was I? Let me go back. They're all here. Yes, they're all saved in, and you can print them and you can save a PDF. But yes, they're all saved in ezyCollect. Yep.
Theoretically, the goal of ezyCollect is to automate as much as possible, so you have to use it as little as possible, right?
Yeah, basically. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Here's the weird thing too. Sometimes we're so successful, people come along to us and say, we'd like to cancel our monthly subscription, please, because we don't have overdues anymore. And we go, okay, you sure? And then 3 months later, they're back going, I think we need ezyCollect again, and go, yes, just because it works really well, you've got to keep it going. So yes, that's the whole point. 0 days late. If we can get everybody on direct debits and we can automate the whole process and we can send the invoice out and we can get the money when it's due, and then if a direct debit fails, we can immediately start chasing again, then that's the process that we're working towards. But yes, you're absolutely right. The more successful we are, the less it needs to be used, but it always needs to be used. Yep.
And if we've got customers that are set up for prepayment, would it ask the customer for payment for a sales order?
With prepayments, you send the sales order out, they click the pay now button, they'll go into it will take them to a link, and they'll put their credit card details in, and then it'll write that payment against the sales order. And then when the sales order is promoted to an invoice, it takes that payment along with it. Or you can, no, that's how it works. Yes, you hit pay now, and then people pay. And the slight issue with that is if you're chasing a 50% deposit, but you're showing the full amount of the sales order, people have to then put in the amount that they want to pay on a sales order, because quite often you're chasing a deposit. If it's the full amount, it's no problem. You just hit pay now, and it processes it straight through. So that's really good too, in terms of being able to get your prepays in. Because that's a big issue, right? That's a big issue a lot of times. There's all these sales orders out in the world that you're asking people for payment for, that the goods have been picked waiting for payment, but nobody's chasing up the sales orders. So yes, we give you a list of what's due as well, so you can chase those. But there's no automated chasing of sales orders, only invoices. Okay, because sales orders aren't. Again, roadmap, I've asked for this and said, look, wouldn't it be great if we could chase sales orders? And people have gone, yes, that's a product update that we should look at, but it's not there now. So I'm only trying to tell you about what you can get today, because I don't know when tomorrow is. Tomorrow might be November, tomorrow might be November next year, and then it'll get rolled out and they'll say, good news, we finished this, you can now chase sales orders. So
do you guys also integrate with WooCommerce? So like if we've got a website and customers place an order with
yes and no. We did, and then WooCommerce changed the platform, but it is possible. We did at one stage, but I think we only do it with the latest version. If you've got older versions, then we don't do it. But if you've got the latest version of WooCommerce, then we potentially can. But I've been told that it's not supported as it was because there's too many variations that we're trying to integrate with. But I can certainly look at it. If you've got a WooCommerce website, and we can look at what you're using, and I can advise you on what the cost of that will be. Yep.
Awesome. I think we're out of questions for now.
Oh, I'm over the moon. Usually people just, this is what I like about these interactive ones, because I can see you and you've got your camera on, at least you're there going, oh, well, I'll ask. When you're anonymous in a room of 30, people just sit there and they don't want to talk. It's been great. This is the best webinar. This is the best webinar this year. I'm really enjoying this.
That's awesome.
Nice. Cool.
Cool. Any other questions?
Raywin, last chance.
No, I think I'm all good. I think you've answered mine in terms of, well, I was interested in the monthly pricing. That was something I was interested in. But I think you've answered that one. And everything, other questions. And is this going to be available for, you are recording it. Are you sending us out a recording of it?
Yes, so I will definitely share. I just tidy it up a bit, and then I'll share it probably by tomorrow.
I do think Daniel and Wendy probably need to have a look at this as well, because I think it's actually a really good idea for kind of following up on things. One question I did have is, how often does it integrate? Like, how often does the integration go through? So if we type the credit note in, is it only going in that night, or does it go in automatically?
There's a big sync button that you can sync as often as you like, but don't forget you've got server loads and all sorts of. I usually do it this way. I go, oh, Raywin's been on leave for a week. No one did anything to do anything with accounts receivable for the last week, and so now we've got to get everything up to date. Raywin comes back for 2 days, goes, why did I have a week off? Keys everything in up to date. It's 9 o'clock. It's literally 12 o'clock today. You can push the sync button, and then everything will flow into ezyCollect and update it accordingly. But I wouldn't do it with a credit note, because again, as I said, accounts receivable is somewhat behind. It's not real time, and so if we've chased someone this morning before you did the credit note, we won't chase them again today. You'll do the credit note today. It'll flow in. The correct amount of the invoice will be there tomorrow, or it'll be a 0 if you've done a credit note for the whole invoice, and we won't chase them. So you can set up your own length of time, can't you? Between, like we give them 10 days after the end of the month before we chase them. So you can do all that sort of thing. Yep.
Yeah, and like you said, you can set it up for individual customers.
Correct.
So,
yep. Whatever you want. Individual classes of customers can be treated completely separately. Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of pricing, if you want to let me know what your active debtors are, I can give you a much better idea of pricing in terms of what is specific to you, and I can disconnect the risk from the workflow. So you've got a couple of options. So if you look on the screen now, you will see a QR code. If you scan that QR code, that will give you all my details directly into your little tracking device. Sorry, mobile phone. And you can just reach out to me or Juanita, and I can get back to you with some updated specific pricing based on your needs. If you've got multi companies, that affects it. If you've got more than, because we call that an instance, but it's not a problem if you've got 3 companies they're tenants, aren't they, Juanita? Don't you call them tenants? Is that right?
Tenants, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're multi-tenanted, let me know, and then I can do more specific pricing for that as well.
I just have a question regarding bank transfers, like receiving from bank transfer. Is there a fee for that for each individual bank transfer?
Yes, it's about 35 cents, I think, if they do it through our portal. Obviously, if they just do a normal ABA to you. So, but yes, everything comes with charges. But I'll send those over to you as well if you like. If you want to give me some more detail as to your active debtors, then I'll get some specific pricing back to you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Great. So happy for you guys to just engage with Graham direct, and he'll get back to you. Graham just tends to keep us in the loop. Like I said, there might be some support work that we need to do if you do decide to go with ezyCollect in terms of setting it up. So our consulting team will work with ezyCollect and getting that going for you guys. But yeah, I'll send a recording out by tomorrow, hopefully. And then if you've got any other questions, yeah, just feel free to reach out to Graham or to myself. And yeah, thank you very much. I think I only booked 45 minutes and we're on an hour, so that's great.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks very much.
Yes, guys, thanks so much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Graham.
So,
Thank you.
so much for my brevity promise.
It's great.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
I really
Thanks.
appreciate your questions. It's been fun. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.